Hey, what's going on? Doc Danny here with the PT Entrepreneur Podcast, and today we're talking about what do you do with a frustrating employee. This happens in any business I've ever been involved in. It doesn't really matter. The same sort of pattern tends to occur. So when we hire people, we oftentimes, hire people that are similar to us. Whether we know that or not, like we hire people that we typically like. We think are gonna be a good culture fit. And that can be great, but sometimes if you're like me, you're maybe more, you're not the best follower of systems, you're not the best follower of rules. And that can be the case in pretty much any business, that you're gonna hire people that are very talented with people, forward facing, but maybe they aren't doing the best job when it comes to the systems in the business that need to be followed in order to be run. This is a very common scenario where we see clinicians, for instance, that are great with their patients. They're great with the interactions. They get great outcomes, but they're not doing their notes. They're not putting in the right information needed that the business is tracking. Maybe they're a little late to meetings. Maybe they're, they show up a little late here and there. Maybe they're slow to respond to, communication, email or Slack messages or whatever it might be. So they're fantastic with forward-facing people, interaction skills, outcomes potentially as a clinician, but they're not necessarily following the systems that the business needs to be followed. So what do you do here? Because you have this person who, by all accounts, let's say they're not a liability to the business, right? They're not necessarily crippling your business because they're doing everything wrong, and they're not getting good outcomes. They're not showing up on time. They're completely not following any systems. But they're not necessarily doing the things they're supposed to. So you have three options, and I see this a lot. So here's the options. Number one, you can just let it go. This is just the way this person is, and you can essentially just say that you accept the fact that they are this way. They're just this way. They're not terrible. They're okay at these things. They're not okay at these things. So I'm busy. I'm just going to let it go. That's option number one. Number two, you can fire them. You can let them go. You're not following these processes and procedures. It's creating problems for other people in the business. We're going to have to let you go. Okay, that's number two. Number three is you can create a performance improvement plan where you actually sit down with them and you detail out what it is that they need to improve, and then you track that. So I'll talk about these and pros and cons of these, but for most people, here's what happens. You have to look at your business and honestly be serious and very truthful with yourself about whether you have trained this person effectively and supported this person effectively. Because if you're busy in particular and you're bringing somebody on, the onboard process, it's easy to just not do a thorough onboard process with your team. You're like, okay, cool, you got this, right? Yeah, I got this. And they don't really know if they're doing the right or wrong things. They're just doing the things, they're probably leaning more into the things that they feel comfortable with, that are getting them the direct outcomes that they're trying to get, that they're either incentivized to do, or that the job, primarily dictates. So as a clinician, that would be, are people getting better, right? Are patients seeing the benefit of working with you? Are they feeling better? Are they getting back to activities they like? That's huge, right? So that's obviously number one. But maybe you didn't teach them how to use the EMR very well. Maybe you didn't teach them how to use your project management software very well. Maybe they don't understand how to use your communication tools. Maybe they do a bad job of triaging email, and they don't have a very good system for that. So these are all things that you assume that they have figured out on their own, probably, or maybe they watched some screen share videos that you put together, but you didn't really train them on it, right? That's usually what we see happens. So in these options, here's what you have. You can let them go, which is probably not the best option. It's hard to hire somebody and train somebody. And if you have done these things with them, you've trained them on this, you repeatedly have sat down and gone through things, and they know, and you've actually created some structure around them improving these things and tracked it, and they're still not doing it, you probably need to let them go. Because here's what happens if you don't. The second option is that you let them stay, and you just accept the flaws that they have. You accept that they're going to just do what they want to do in the business and not necessarily follow your processes. So what's that going to do? Well, that is going to set a bad standard for everybody else. So if you have people that are A players, that are getting great outcomes, they're following all the systems, they're going to look at this as okay, well, now the standard is mediocrity. So I can just be mediocre. The other thing is you may have support staff, administrative staff that now has to do more in order to support this person than they should. So they have to do more work because somebody else is unwilling to do it themselves. This is such a terrible standard. It's a bad precedence for people to follow, and it makes you look like a very weak leader, someone who just accepts what these people are going to do, and maybe you're checked out. Right. And they view that as maybe this isn't the place that they want to be long term. And the challenge with that is that A players will not accept that. And then A players will look to move on to something else because they need good leadership. They need consistency. A players, man, they are great for your business, but they also require more leadership and they require a higher standard from you as well. So keep in mind that the things that you let go, other people see that. And they will have their own opinions on that, and you as a business owner and a leader, and whether they feel like it's the right place for them to be and where they can grow in their own role. The last phase or the last option would be a performance improvement plan. And this is the go-to for most people that we work with on this. And this is the go-to in the businesses that I own and am a part of as well, where what we want to do is establish, okay, here's the problem. We have not done a good enough job of, educating you on how to do these things that you're not doing, and maybe also why they're really important. So, why is it important for you to, update this project management tool or this CRM or something like that after a visit? Well, it's important because we track this data. This data helps our administrative staff pull everything together for our meetings. This allows us to better track our advertising. This allows us to better track our outcomes so we know what we need to improve or not improve, where people are coming from, all this stuff that maybe is a part of what they're doing and they're just not because they don't see the value in it. They don't know why. They just think it's extra time. Or maybe the question should be, should this person even be doing it? You have to take a hard look at your systems. Is this redundant? Is this something necessary for the provider to do? If the answer is no, well, all right, cool. We realize that this isn't even something you should do. Then we're going to remove that. That's one less thing. But we need to do X, Y, and Z. And here's why. We're going to work with you. We're going to meet with you once a week over the next 6 weeks to make sure that we're effectively tracking these things, that we're training you on these, that you have any questions. We're going to go ahead and make sure we answer those. And over this next 6 weeks, we expect to see this progress. And this is a non-negotiable. If you are not completing your notes at this point in time, if you're not doing these things, then we're going to have to part ways because this is something that has to be done in our business. This is a standard that we have, and you must do it if you want to work here. It's that simple. Then we go through the performance improvement plan. Now, here's what you're going to see. One of two things usually. Number one, that person is going to now have the support that they need. They're going to understand why. They're going to improve what they're doing with consistency. You're checking in with them. They're getting the training they need. They're getting the questions answered that they need. They're understanding it. They're starting to build better workflows. You're helping them become more efficient with the things they need to do. And it's great. And they do fantastic. And you never have a problem with that again. That's option one. I would say 50% of the time that happens. The other 50% of the time, you're checking in with them. They are not interested in changing anything. They're not changing it. They're making excuses. They're unwilling to change. And usually by the end of that 6 weeks, they've decided to resign. They've just quit because they've realized this is not a place where they can just get away with whatever they want. And somehow we missed this in the hiring process. I've had this happen, the same exact situation, where people have either turned the corner or people have just decided this isn't the right spot for them in multiple businesses. And it's a 50-50 in my experience. Maybe it's not going to be the case for you. But what you see what somebody really is like when you start to create a performance improvement plan. Some people call this coaching people out, which is a pretty, I don't know, it's a pretty direct way of looking at it. But that's kind of what's happening. We're either going to coach you to what needs to happen, or you're going to get frustrated and you're going to leave, which for the business has a lot of pros actually. So if they leave, it's better for you than you firing them in many states. So you holding a standard though, you're going to have people that are going to commit to that. They're going to follow the actual process that you have, and then you're going to be better off for it. You're going to also show your team that you have a standard and everybody else is doing it, that is a standard. You're trying to bring everybody up to it. They're going to have a lot more respect for you when it comes to that. And you're either going to have somebody's going to turn around and be a great staff member from there on out, or you're going to have somebody that's going to realize this isn't the place for you. This isn't a place where you can just do whatever you want, and they're going to end up leaving. So this is a very common scenario. Leadership is a tough thing. This is one thing that I think is the biggest determining factor of whether somebody's really going to scale their business or not, especially in clinics, because it's so people heavy. So you being able to be an effective leader, being able to work with people in this capacity, being able to hold a standard, being able to communicate at a high level with people that have different communication styles, and growing this group of people that maybe all have different views on what they want, how they want to be led, how they like to work, and being able to pull those people together to follow a common system and develop a tight culture. That is a very hard thing to do. And a lot of it has to do with how you work with these folks, because one of the things that we neglect is we let a lot of this stuff just go. Like we're just like, oh, okay, I'm busy. They're not doing that bad of a job. And that's a kiss of death to your business. It really is. You cannot look at it that way. You have to be the person that is driving it. It's holding a standard. And when you get to a certain size, maybe this is where you hand that off to a clinic director or a COO or something like that. And you can work on some of the other strategic things you need to really grow past where you're at. But for a lot of people, this is where they're going to make or break their clinic. Having these tough conversations, following through on some of these difficult things, taking the extra time, even though I know you're time poor, to make sure your staff understands what they need to be doing, and then actually training them up, educating them, making sure that they know, because they may not know why it's important or how to do it correctly. And they may just not care. You're going to find out whenever you actually take them through a structured plan of who they really are and who you hired. Better to know that than let them just hang around and ruin your culture.